Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of BTV. Today we're going to be discussing wisdom, and we're bouncing off my painting here titled Proverbs 8. So, let's chat about the painting first, hey? So this painting was painted a few years back. I think it was in 2021. I remember using a thinner type of oil painting, and I mixed it in with a bit more linseed oil because I wanted to get something quite flush, and there's very little texture. It's pretty much could look like a print of sorts, but it's actually an oil painting. And let's get into some of the meaning of it all and some of the background in regards to the model, in regards to the symbology, the bell, the lights in the back, the tattoos. And let's start with the subject being Proverbs 8. Now, Proverbs 8 speaks about Lady Wisdom, and I love how poetic it is because King Solomon in the book of Proverbs describes Lady Wisdom poetically as this lady who's been with God since the beginning. I'll give you a bit of a rundown. So we're going to read as to what the inspiration was, and if you can start linking the words up with the image, I think you're going to see how I tied it in. All right. So in Proverbs 8, verses 1 to 3, it says, "Does not wisdom call? Does not understanding raise her voice? On the heights beside the way, at the crossroads, she takes her stand beside the gates, in front of the town, at the entrance of the portals, she cries aloud." And in verse 22 to 31, "The Lord possessed me," or this is Lady Wisdom speaking, "The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of old. Ages ago I was set up at the first, before the beginning of the earth. Then I was beside him like a master workman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing before him always, rejoicing in his inhabited world, and delighting in the children of man." How beautiful. So fascinating to have this picture of Lady Wisdom being God's first work and being beside him since the beginning as the Lord went about in his ways, creating what he created, like an assistant, like an apprentice, so to speak. And I think that's such a beautiful picture because wisdom has such a lofty place within the world, within the scriptures, especially being like you see here, the first works, right? It says, "The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of old." Like, wow, man, that's so ancient and so profound. So this is wisdom, of course, and we see how Solomon was speaking poetically in order to be able to give this discourse to us as listeners to understand the value and the importance of wisdom. We see wisdom within the scriptures being described ultimately as the fear of God. And that perplexed me for a while because we also see within the Proverbs, within the wise sayings, we see that wisdom is, we see that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. We see that wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, where within the scriptures we're encouraged to get wisdom because it's the principal thing. We look at a school, and within a school we have the principal, the chief, and it starts with him as the leader, so to speak, and we're told to get this wisdom, to get it with everything we've got, get wisdom as the principal thing for life, obviously, for our way of living. Now, I went on a search within the scriptures to find out what wisdom was. Like, where can you find it? What is it? Apparently, its value is worth more than gold and silver and anything that you could possibly desire in this life. Wisdom can far surpass it. So I searched the scriptures, And it's all there to find, and it's fascinating. Job, in the book of Job, they say it's one of the first books that was written, or the oldest book that was written within the Bible. And Job goes on a request to ask God, like, what is wisdom? Where is wisdom? And God eloquently tells him, about all these things that he's done, that where was he when he did this and that, like within the world, within the scope of the world. And in the end of it all, he tells Job exactly what wisdom is. He tells Job exactly what it is in Job 28:28. He says, the fear of the Lord is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. And I was like, whoa, there it is. That's what wisdom actually is. Wisdom is the fear of the Lord. If we go back to the Proverbs, it says that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. So it's sort of saying, hey, if you want to know where wisdom begins in your life, it's going to start with fearing God. And fearing God is a interesting way of putting it in English, because we think of fear as in something horrific or something like terrible and mean, and something we've got to get away from. And it's fascinating when we look back into the way we look at words as well. We look at the word awful, something that's so awful, but the origin of the word is actually something that's full of awe and wonder. And it's changed around to just, something that's full of awe and wonder. These days we know it as awesome, which is just some awe. But when we look at old literature, we see the word awful, and I think that's way more fitting. But in today's vernacular and context, it's kind of odd that, to sort of say, oh, wow, man, you look so awful today. It just doesn't exactly work. But yeah, it's something that may be reintroduced in our life. We never know. But I say that to say that to fear God, some people may look at that as if I do something wrong, I'm going to be punished because he's going to make my life go extremely bad in order to teach me a lesson. And I could lose someone in my life. I could lose a limb. I could be hurt somehow. There's going to be pain involved, and this is a terrible and fearful God. Now, yes, God is, as we see, as we look at the world, some people might just say it's all nature, but we got to look at the source and go beyond that and see where the source is coming from. And there's like good and evil, right and wrong. There's justice, there's injustices, and all types of things that can really just, bring about either confusion or an understanding. Now we see two things at play, and ultimately, they're love and hate, and right and wrong, and good and evil, etc. But when we're talking about fear is to be understood in such a way where there is a healthy fear, like there's a healthy discipline. There's an unhealthy discipline that leads towards abuse, but there's a healthy discipline that leads towards life and strength and courage and resistance, resilience, etc. Here we're talking about the fear of God, right? So the fear of God in a healthy way. Now, yes, we are to be in awe and wonder of such majesty in regards to creation and the visibility of life and what we can see beyond what we may have within our own understanding. We can see that every creation does point to this creator, and every magnificent creation logically points to a magnificent creator. So there's an awe and a wonder within that, yes. But let's look at how Jesus also taught about the fear of God. Jesus actually said, and now I'm paraphrasing here, but he actually said, don't fear man who can destroy the body but can't destroy the soul. He said, rather fear God who can destroy both body and soul in hell. So God's the master creator. And there is a sense of reverential awe and wonder about him, which basically says he's in full control of his creation, and so he should be. The creator is always in full control of its creation. Now, there's elements that come into play, but ultimately the creator stands firm and begins creating amidst circumstances and emits different elements, yet the Creator has final say in order to bring about its complete production, right? So within that, Jesus is saying, you're better off fearing God, who has the capacity to both destroy his creation and bring life to its creation, because he's the Creator. Now, when we look at it that way, it's a healthy, reverential fear. But first, we must understand that this Creator is good. This Creator is love. This Creator is just. And this Creator was personified and revealed in its fullness in Christ. When we look at the life of Christ, we see the full personification of God, of love, of goodness, of purity, etc., right? A blameless, sinless life. But what we also see, which is fascinating, and the scriptures declare it as well, that he is the fulfillment, he's the embodiment of wisdom. And I find that fascinating because wisdom, profound wisdom, it's all embodied within him, the fullness of it. But there we have wisdom, and it's found in the fear of God. Like wisdom for us as humanity, as God's creation, is found in fearing God, in this healthy fear of God that, whoa, God has the capacity. There's a force at hand that can bring about, yes, terrible things. There's a force that's about that isn't just always just, butterflies and roses and everything's just dandy. No, we're, Lord willing, getting towards that place. By the grace of God, we'll be getting towards that perfect place when we move on from this world. But while we're here, we're to live amongst the elements. We're to live amongst the ups and downs of life, etc. But we keep our eyes fixed on that hope, and with wisdom, we carry on through into that world, knowing that we've been that our hearts are right now with God because of Christ and His work, not of our doing. So, getting back to this painting, so the backdrop here, it's this place where she's come from, and it mentions here that in verse 8, 22 to 31, it says here, rejoicing before him always, rejoicing in his inhabited world and delighting in the children of man. And it says also that in 8, 1 to 3, it says, at the entrance of the portals, she cries aloud. Okay, so she's been, let's say, up here in this area, and then she comes down to, so I'm just trying to put a picture to the words, even though they're poetic words, I'm trying to put a picture to it. And here she stands. By the way, the model, you might recognize the model as my beautiful wife, Anna May. And I asked her, I'll just get into some of the backdrop. You might find it interesting. So I'll just get straight into it. So I'll be going back and forth, but it all ties in. I literally just grabbed a canvas drop sheet and I put it over her. And I asked her to put some faint lipstick on, nothing too poppy, and asked her to do that. And we had a little kitchen bell. Those kitchen bells when we were living in Arncliffe. We lived at the top of these apartments, and we had a little bell to call the kids that were playing down in the playground there. And we had this little kitchen bell. So I asked her to hold the kitchen bell. It was a lot smaller than that. And I grabbed some danger tape and I wrapped it around and put it around her neck, and then hence took a photo of her. And we got this. I then went into Photoshop. I enlarged the bell to make it more prominent. But anyway, going back into this area, she's come from the heavenlies. So she comes in, and now she's, as it says there, she beside the gates in front of the town. So she's looking at the town. And I had her a bit more I didn't want her to be so illuminated. I want there to be a sense of darkness and I guess mystery, but more of a darkness because she's facing this world that is in need of her because she's Lady Wisdom. So she's facing this world that's in darkness, so to speak, and she stands there and it says here, does not wisdom call, does not understanding raise her voice. So you could imagine wisdom standing at the front of the gates of the city, of the earth, of all the inhabitants, of people, of us. And she's about to belt out something that's going to reach the ends of the earth. So I thought, man, that's quite a mighty voice. So when you're about to belt something out, and then the discourse of what you're about to say. So this is her within that preparation to bring about what she needs to say as wisdom, in the hope that the people will get this wisdom and this world would be like heaven on earth. So we have here a few other areas. Now the canvas, I just wanted to show something ancient because it speaks about her being with God since the beginning. This is the first of the acts of old. She's the first of the acts of old. So I thought that would, communicate that well to the viewer. Okay, again, taken from the hobo symbols. This one at the top, let's just say these tattoos actually are references about her nature and what she's about. Hence, they're on her. So they say things about her and where she comes from, etc. So this one at the top is, where is it? Here we go. This one is here, good for a handout. So she's good for a handout. She's helpful. She's good. She's very resourceful, and you can find nurture. You can find sustenance. So she's good for that. This one here is the cat, the little cat symbol. That one is a kind-hearted lady. So I thought, seeing that she's referenced as a lady, I thought that sort of fitting. She's a kind-hearted lady. So kindness is what she's about, and this is what we need. Hence, get wisdom first, the principal thing. That one there is doctor, no charge within the hobo symbols. Doctor, no charge. So a doctor is there to bring healing, to bring remedies, etc. So that's also what she is. I love that the Lord's described as the great physician as well in the scriptures. Here, one I've used in quite a few, which is a good road to follow. And here, down below, we have a tattoo with an old school sort of looking compass showing north, south, east, west, hence the ends of the earth, all ends of the earth, all corners. And in this cursive writing, it says, my counsel. So she's talking about her counsel, how it reaches all ends of the earth. Now the danger tape is part of the series that I painted. There's 3 in the series. One we talked about, I'm pretty sure it was on the episode of Freedom, where I described some of the danger tape, and one that I'm about to be doing soon in regards to wisdom being the principal thing. But this one here just speaks about the fact that she is referenced in Proverbs as God's first work. She isn't God. So therefore she too still requires this tape that she holds, because my symbology within all the series of paintings and regards to the and in regards to referencing the danger tape is that the danger tape just helps keep us guarded against something that is so powerful and mighty and awesome, so to speak, which is God, the untouchable yet touchable, the fearful and mighty loving God, So she still has this awe and reference and revere and healthy fear towards God himself. So she carries that danger tape, but she doesn't exactly wear it over her eyes like in the other paintings. The human subjects are wearing it over their eyes, yet she's not a human subject. She's when I say human subject, I mean within the earth. She's been with God since the beginning. So that's where I was tying it at. Now the white hair, that just speaks about her being within the presence of God. She's got this sense of illumination. There's a great sense of wisdom, so to speak, within who she is. So I like the white hair there, and I've referenced white hair in other paintings as well. The process of the painting I found extremely interesting and quite challenging, especially when it came to the canvas robe, the whatever you may call it. I found areas that I was struggling, but all it required when I looked at it in order to achieve what I was after, it just required slowing down and patiently working with it as I just chipped away at it. I find often if I'm starting to get overwhelmed, it's because I'm trying to just get to the finished result without working within the subject in order to attain something that I'm pleased with. So we'll finish up fittingly with Ecclesiastes 12:13. This is at the end of Ecclesiastes, which is very fitting because Solomon within the book has just finished giving a discourse, a very full-on, honest and sad, almost depressing discourse on his life, on his reflection of the earth and what life is and how fleeting and vain it could all be. Yet within all that, to have someone such as King Solomon, who was known to be one of the wisest men ever to live, the richest man to ever live, a man who lived life completely to the full within this world, pretty much did everything and anything, lived till his heart was content, so to speak. He went all out. And in this book, he's saying how it was all vanity, it was all fleeting. It's quite depressing when you just think, man, what's the purpose of life? If he's done it all, he's not saying that this was the best thing in life, so therefore go get this. No, not at all. He's done it all and he's called it all vain and fleeting, and yet he gets something within it all and he comes back ultimately to the root of the matter. And he says at the end in Ecclesiastes 12:13, the end of the matter, all has been heard. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of humanity. All right. Thank you, and catch you on the next one. See ya.